So Nick Atkins.
Nick Atkins, the CEO of FightHQ.com.au.
I had to make a decision. What am I going to do? If I stay here, I'm probably going to be unemployed and have nothing and fighting every week by week, and just I didn't want to be that person. I sort of got up the courage and packed my bags and told my mum I was leaving, which was pretty crazy. She didn't react too well to that, but also gave me probably the best motivation anyone could give me. I remember she looked straight into my eyes and said, if you leave, you'll be nothing in life. Yeah, it's probably the best and worst thing for me, because no matter what I do in life and what accomplishments I achieve, it's not enough. You know, it's like, yeah, that's cool, but what's next?
What's up, guys? Welcome to this pod with Nick Atkins, the CEO of FightHQ.com.au. Now, this is a really, really interesting pod. In this one, I take a back seat and I let Eric be the principal interviewer, because Eric and Nick actually work together, because FightHQ is part of the MX Store family. So for those of you who don't know, MX Store is Australia's largest motocross online store, $100 million a year business. And FightHQ is a company that they formed with Nick to leverage all the, know-how in MX Store in this new vertical. And Nick is the man driving that company. It's an amazing story how they grew from 7 to, I believe, on the cusp of 8 figures a year now, within 4 years of starting. It's an amazing story, and it's not just a business story. It is a very deep personal story at the front of this pod that I think you're going to find very, very moving. I'm just going to leave the rest to be said in the pod. Thank you for watching. Remember, guys, like and subscribe. We appreciate you being here. See you on the other side. What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Unemployable. We are super excited for this one. Welcome to the studio. Nick, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, thanks, guys. I'm stoked to be on, so thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for doing it. I know that you don't do a lot of this kind of stuff, and so we really do appreciate it, and coming down, tell your story. I know a lot of people are going to be moved by this one. The story, the business story is amazing. The life story is amazing. And it's going to be a ripper. So, Mark, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm also very excited for this podcast. I love the whole fighter story, and this one here is literally a fighter story. So can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Now, in today's pod, we are going to be led a little bit differently. Eric's going to mostly lead this podcast, because Eric and Nick have a friendship that goes back longer, and he knows Nick better than I do. So it's going to be awesome. I'm going to sit here as a number 2 today and wait for opportunities.
Thanks for letting me know now.
Slide in some jokes and throw you off your game. How are you, Eric? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, very good. Humbled to have Nick here. Obviously, we've known each other for a long time and good friends and business partners, but Nick's got a pretty heavy story, and what he's done over the years. So it's going to be good to delve in a little bit of that, and obviously the success of FightHQ, and go from there. Huh?
So I'll frame it up a little bit for the audience. So for people who are first-time watchers of the show, and I know for those of you who watch us every week, you know who we are, but it's sometimes helpful just to have a little bit of background. So Nick's got a company called FightHQ. It is Australia's largest online marketplace for everything fight related, from boxing gloves to mouth guards to everything in between. Mark is a Amazon seller principally, now branching off outside of Amazon, does millions of dollars a year on Amazon, and is now launching, as I said, to Shopify and other areas in the health, wellness, and homewares kind of categories. I've got a very varied background. I've been in business for 30 years. I've owned animation studios in Hollywood, California. I've owned capital raising companies that have taken one of them to the public, and built a very large Amazon education business where we had 17,000 students, $75 million in sales, and a whole bunch of other businesses along the way. And Eric has a 9-figure e-commerce business, around $100 million a year, 170 employees at a company called MX Store, which is the largest motocross online store in Australia. And sort of these guys work together, and you'll hear the story as it unfolds. So hopefully that just gives you a frame. We don't tell you that to boast at all. We just tell you so that you understand our background. Podcasting for us is a side hustle. Our main thing is running businesses or investing in them. And today, as always, we get to learn about FightHQ's journey, which is going to be awesome because they're growing at a rapid rate. I believe they're on track to hit 8 figures shortly, annually. And, I was at one of your events just recently. I've been at a few of them actually, where FightHQ is the major sponsor. You run a really good deal. But with that said, what I'm going to do is going to hand over to Eric to lead things off. And and tee it up, and maybe just start by getting a frame around what FightHQ is. And
yeah, 100%. I guess, Nick, you're probably best to explain it because you live it and breathe it every day. So tell us a little bit, the frame around FightHQ, what it is, why is it around, who does it target, and kind of the vision, I guess, for the business.
Cool. Yeah, look, FightHQ, our purpose why we did this is to change people's lives to the training and journey martial arts. So we want people to train, obviously in any sport is really good, but we specialize in the combat sports industry, and we've obviously heard amazing stories, throughout the time of people doing martial arts. So first of all, it's that, we were making sure that the industry, working with the industries however we can, to make it safer, grow more, get them the equipment they need. But obviously to do that, we need to create revenue. So, we're an online store, product-based, where we have the largest range of boxing already in Muay Thai and MMA and Taekwondo. And we're still building out the other disciplines of judo, kickboxing and wrestling. But basically, our brand values, is same-day dispatch. If you buy something today, before 2 p.m, we'll send it the same day. You should get it tomorrow. That's 7 days a week. Free shipping over $49. So we want to get the equipment to the customer as soon as possible. Make it as easy for them to actually, do order through the website. I suppose majority of companies are vertical. So if you're doing MMA, for example, you gotta, you jump online. You gotta buy boxing gear. So you jump on one side for boxing, and then the next day you're doing kickboxing. You jump on another brand website to do kickboxing, and then you got to get your BJJ stuff, for instance, or wrestling. They can go to how many different sites you have to go to get everything sent to you, where this is just a one-stop shop for everything, which is, it's the industry's really adapting to our model, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's I guess, with MX Store being that catalog style of business, and that was the original domain. And then, FightHQ coming in, it's a similar type of model. It's what we call a catalog style business. So anything and everything fight, eventually in every discipline, will be available at FightHQ. Now, obviously, I know e-com hasn't been your background for many years, and you're fairly new into the e-com space. So what I'd like to do is let the audience know a little bit about kind of your story, your journey, where you came from, what you as a kid, and kind of your early adult life, and what else did you do prior to FightHQ? And then once people get a bit of an understanding on that, I think it's very important to touch on these points. And then what we'll do is get right into FightHQ and all the nitty gritty and all the cool stuff you guys are doing, because it's not just FightHQ. There's also the Fight Gym, which is Fight Academy. There's also Want to Be a Fighter, which is Fight Challenges that Nick runs as part of the business, and also fight shows called Infliction Fight Series, which are the ones that we've been going to, and we have one not this weekend, next weekend. So that's going to be exciting. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Want to go back to the sort of the start?
Yeah. As far back as you want to go.
Yeah, cool. This is probably a place I don't go to too much to reflect on, but when I do, it's when I sit here right now, I wouldn't think 30, 40 years ago I'd be having these conversations with the opportunities I thought I had. So, with my, one thing I can't escape is on my passport, it says I'm from Anara, which I'm not sure what it's like now, but back in those days, it was a pretty rough place. I think I was the only white kid on the street, and you could either fight or you could run really fast, and I was a pretty good runner because, I was quick. I wasn't a fighter back then. But we had our challenges. We come with a poor family, I suppose you'd say, and sort of my dad, we was never around. He was like 33 years old when my mum got pregnant with me when I was 13. So that probably says a lot, and sort of had nothing to do with us, I suppose. And that would have brought a fair few challenges for my mum, I'd assume. But I had a sister, and we got two other brothers as well. But obviously, as time went on, I think I went to about over 20 different schools, which was pretty crazy and unsettled. My mum sort of went down the path of, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and regular new partners, which obviously led to domestic violence a fair bit, which was not really a good place to be in. So yeah, I come to the stage where it got that bad that in year 7 when I was 12 I got expelled from school. Why I got expelled, I took some of my mum's drugs to school and was selling them. But while I was selling them was to basically buy food for my brothers and sisters to put food on the table because it wasn't happening otherwise. So it was a pretty crazy situation. But then from that, when I got expelled, basically the next 6 months, I was just at home looking after the kids and cleaning and cooking like an adult would do, I suppose.
At 12 years old.
Yeah, 12 years old, yeah. And obviously come to the realisation that my mum had no interest to put me back in school. And I was never academically great, but I did know that probably school was my a way for me to get out of, break the mould of the family that I was in, and then that didn't happen. So we sort of got to the point where I just, between right or wrong, even though I knew it was wrong taking drugs to school and selling them, but I made the decision based on something else. But I knew I had to make a decision. What am I going to do? If I stay here, I'm probably going to be, unemployed and have nothing and fighting every week by week, and just I didn't want to be that person. So I sort of got up the courage and packed my bags and told my mum I was leaving, which was pretty crazy, and she didn't react too well to that, but also gave me probably the best motivation anyone could give me. I remember she looked straight into my eyes and said, "If you leave, you'll be nothing in life." And it's probably the best and worst thing for me, because no matter what I do in life and what the accomplishments I achieve, it's not enough. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but what's next? And that, so it's two sides of it. I drive so hard, and that's one of the things I always want to prove. I will be something or am something, but again, it's hard to celebrate the wins when you're like, it's not enough, if that makes sense.
That's I come from a total opposite family, so when I hear these stories, like it hits me on how grateful I am the way I was raised. And it's have your mom look you in the eye, and tell you, if you leave, you'll be nothing in life. That's heavy, at 12 years old. Thank you for sharing that, first of all. I know it's obviously not easy to talk about. Where did you go? You packed your bags, you walk out of the front door. What was next?
Yeah, the first couple of nights, funnily enough, I found myself back at school, probably just a safe place, and I slept in the ball racks. Probably would have been summer then, so it wasn't cold. I can't really remember, but I just remember I had a bag, my guitar, and spent a couple of nights just sleeping in the ball racks, and then during the day, just catching up with people that were wagging. It was all sort of around the school because it felt safe because I knew people, if that makes sense. That was sort of the first place I went to, and then I ran into my nana, and my nana, she grabbed me, and I stayed with her for a couple of weeks. But I'd actually lived with my nana for about a year and a half, a few years prior to that. I can't really remember why, but my mum sort of parted me off for nearly 2 years. So my nana, but she was quite a bit older, and also heavily into prescription medication, was sort of not really present. And again, I sort of could see that she's not going to get me back in schools. What do I do here? There was no second room there or anything. So, and just sort of, had some friends, stayed at some friends' houses, that sort of stuff every now and again. And, a couple of times found myself back in the ball racks, sleeping again. And then it just sort of, I think my auntie and uncle, my auntie's on my sister's side, and my uncle Craig was my auntie's husband. Big influence in my life. They'd always said previously, if you ever run away from home, come stay in our house. And probably they knew that it was going to happen one day, but I didn't. And it just sort of clicked one day. I'm like, yeah, I think that's my best chance. You know what I mean, of doing something. And don't get me wrong, they were on the pension. They had no money. They couldn't afford me. But was putting, that's a great example of putting other people before yourself, I suppose. And jumped on a bus from I think it was Logano to Redland Bay or Victoria Point, and walked about 6K and knocked on their front door, and with my bag and my guitar, and said, here I am. And they knew straight away. So it wasn't like, what are you doing here? They could tell. So that was, that's how I sort of got out of that situation.
And that was 12, 13 years old.
Yep. Yeah, I would have just been, I think by the time I got there, I would have just, just turning 13 because I was entering year 8 and they got me in school in year 8 where I just missed the start. So I was I still remember the first day of school, I was the new kid at school wearing second-hand clothes, second-hand school uniform, thinking, okay, this is, how are we going to go here?
Interesting. And so from there, right, where did your fight journey kind of begin? Because this all ties in, right? Like you're running, FightHQ on purpose, right? You're not fighting MX or you're not fighting ATV. You're a fighter. So where did that whole fight journey kind of begin?
Yep. It began the first day I rocked up to my uncle and auntie's house. My uncle Craig, he bless his soul, he passed away a few years ago. He had a long battle with cancer, but he had his 2 girls, my cousins Jess and Janine, karate. Now Craig's background, his upbringing was insane even compared to mine. And he was basically a street fighter. He out of jail when he was really young. He used to work in the Brofers boxing tents where he'd go in, fight someone, get knocked out, pretending of course, and then later on when they're all full of piss, they'd bet against him again and he'd knock him out in the middle of the money. And he sort of got fighting in that. Unfortunately, had an incident when he was working at the showground as well. Someone shot his eye out with one of those pellet guns. So he only had one eye. That was the age. That was 17 years old when he was doing that. So he probably took a bit of a turn for the worse there for a while, where he was in a bad headspace. So anyone that looked at him the wrong way, or like his eye or something, it would trigger him, and he'd be in a fight with someone. But not the sort of fighting we do. Like I'd never ever want to fight my uncle, even being a world champion fighter, because there's no referee, there's no judges. It's not, elbows are graceful compared to, ripping someone's ear off with your teeth or gouging their eyes out. So that was a sort of background he come from, and he wanted his girls to go down a better path of combat sports because he loved fighting, he loved martial arts. I think it was his outlet, but he wanted to do it the proper way rather than the way that he was brought up. But it was still tough love. So the first day I got there, said, hey, here I am. Without hesitation, yep, cool, put your bags in the room, here we go. I had to share a room with someone else they'd bought in as well. His name was Les. He was a couple of years older than me, but he was living there, so we shared a room. But the first day, I still remember clear as day. He'd put the bags down. He's like, cool, let's go outside. He goes, you're learning to fight. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm 13. And like my auntie, she's only 6 years older than me, so she was 19. My uncle was a bit older than that. He's probably late 20s. But basically hands up, showed me how to do a fight stance, and all right, I'm going to punch her. And he did. Bare knuckle, dropped me, bit of blood. And the man I was right then was like, no, I didn't like that. So in tears, because I was crying, he's like, I'll pack your bags and excuse the language, but fuck off. That's what he said. I'm down the road with my bags, crying. My auntie's running behind me, crying, come back. You stay here. So, all right, turned back around and had the courage to go back in the gate because, what else am I going to do? So, he was like, cool, all right, well, let's get back out the yard again and have another crack at it. And we did. And pretty much every day before and after school, we'd train fighting. We actually, could you believe this? We actually at one stage, my auntie will back this up. We had a boxing bag hanging from the ceiling in our lounge room in front of the TV, where every night we'd hit the bag, which was, it's just crazy to think back like that. But it's tough love, but also, everyone's like, that's pretty crazy, but I wouldn't have it any other way, for one. And two, by the time I got to fighting professionally in Muay Thai, I wasn't scared of anyone my age and my size throwing punches at me with gloves on, that's for sure.
So, I mean, that's a lot to take in, right? Like, there's so much to that story. So moving forward, you're learning how to fight. You're getting punched out by your uncle here, there, and everywhere. When did you actually step into professional fighting? and actual properly training rather than backyard brawling, and went into actual disciplined fighting.
Yeah. I think that week I got me straight into karate where my cousins were going. So we started, Shotokan karate with some people up in Redland Bay there, which was cool. And I love that. But yeah, I'm a competitor, so I want to compete. So I was like, when are we fighting? When are we competing? But it was obviously no contact, so got into that and did quite well. Got to, winning the Australian Championships a couple of times. Then got to the stage where I was getting disqualified a lot because there's no contact. And, if accidents happen, we're getting heated and getting pushed, someone would hit me and I would not flinch or, hold my chin or whinge about it because I'd probably get my ass kicked when I get home if I did, for one, because we're proud and, it didn't hurt. So, the referees would always stop and have a look at me, have a look at my face and, give them a warning, go back to it. And then silly me would then give one back and they would, fall over or whatever or stage it and then I get disqualified. So I was like, bugger this. And I actually stopped for a while. So from there I actually stopped and I'm a big fan of AFL as well and started playing AFL at school and then quite competitively where it was sort of semi-professional where I played in the state league, which is a league below AFL, and got quite good money to pay that and then played some games over 2 years with the Brisbane Lions and the reserves as well, which is really cool. And tore my groin really bad, had to have a year off and then just went back to the state, just didn't pursue an AFL career or anything after that. Just sort of, played, got some money, saved up, bought my first house at 21 and it was sort of at a stage where I hate losing. I still hate losing now. Yeah, it's just, you're a competitor. I'd lose footy and we lose a game of footy and say, regardless of whether I kick 18 goals or nothing, I'm pissed off because we lost. Yeah, and I look around, you have a shower and not everyone, but most people are joking around, having a laugh. Yeah. And I'm pissed off for 3 days. You know what I mean? I'm like, fuck this. I'm going back to fighting where I can deal. If I lose, if I get knocked out or lose on points or something, that's on me. So I was like, team sports, love it. Love watching AFL, but I thought, no, I'm going back to fighting. So I did that. And first came off the rank was sort of bare knuckle karate where it was like Muay Thai. You can't punch in the face because it's bare knuckle, but full body punches, chest punches, knees to the head, kicks to the head, kicks to the legs, no shin pads, no nothing. So it was 1 3-minute round. It was just 1 3-minute round, over 80 kilos was heavyweight, open weight. So that was pretty cool. And I got to the Nationals for that and got through the rounds, winning. And I fought this guy in the final and he was an absolute giant. He was 113 kilos and he had an 8-pack. I don't know what type of protein he was eating, but it was just an 8-pack. And I was like, here we go. This is going to be interesting. So,
how much did you weigh at that point in that fight?
It would have been probably 92, 92, 93.
So he's about 21 kilos heavier than you.
Yeah. I didn't have an 8-pack by then either, trust me. So, anyway, so the first half of the 3-minute round, he was just kicking my ass. Like he was kicking me in the legs and just taking both legs out. He was that powerful. And I was like, this sucks, but I'm just getting back up. I'm like, just, no choice, you know what I mean? Like, you don't give up. Anyway, and then I landed a body shot where just went with bare knuckle in his ribs and he dropped. And probably had a minute to go and he got up and, just sort of kept pushed on. And by the end of the round, they made it a draw because he was dominating so hard, but then I dropped him and come back hard. So it's like extension round. And because he was so big, he just gassed heavily. So I bashed him the next round within trade and then got the win, which is really cool. And then there was who was then my coach after that was John Wayne Parr, who's a legend of the sport, 10-time world champion, probably the best, the most anyone in Australia's ever done in Muay Thai. He was there and a few others, and my uncle was like, oh, that's John Wayne Parr. I'm like, oh, cool, who's that? He's like, there's Muay Thai. I'm like, what's Muay Thai? It wasn't even on my radar. And then we just sort of looked into that and I was like, oh, look at these people getting cut up with elbows and knees. I'm like, yeah, this is the shit I want to do. And funnily enough, some of my footy players that I played footy with had moved to the Gold Coast, and they were friends with a couple of fighters that were actually at Blanchard. And so I'd sort of made friends with them, and sort of got to the stage. I was like, I'm in Brisbane. I had air conditioning company at the time that I owned. 4 vans on the road, and it was going quite well, but also it was getting to the point where, some builders weren't paying people, and you can see that sort of frustration. And, I'm like, I need to get out of this. Otherwise, I'm going to drive my car through some builder's house. I don't want to do that. So I literally just, decided. I remember telling my roommate, Ben Opie, I'm like, one day, I'm like, man, I'm going to move out. I'm going to move down the Gold Coast. He's like, what for? I go, I'm going to be a professional Muay Thai fighter. And he sort of looked at me weird. He was like, okay. Like, I didn't know what to take of it, whether I was taking the piss or not. And, literally within 2 weeks after that, I got a unit down in Broadbeach with a friend. She moved, she wanted to move as well. So we moved in together as roommates and turned up at the Burnshoe gym. And literally, because they'd seen the martial arts stuff I did, I literally fought like 6 weeks after that. Like,
how old were you?
Sorry?
How old were you?
I was 26. Yeah.
So 26 in a career of professional Muay Thai fighting. And were you still doing the AC business on the side at that point?
No. Yes, I was for about another year.
Yeah.
Yeah, about another year. I had it down there, and like I said, I closed it up. I had 2 builders that, one probably opening at 50 and one about 30.
Yeah.
And, like the frustrating things with the rules back then, I don't know about now, was that you can go back, you go on site one day, you're halfway through the air conditioning electrical, go back the next day, there's a new sign over front, new builder name. Same guy, he's like, you can't come on site. You don't get the money. And one of my mates was a plumber, and he, one of the builders ripped him off about 200 grand, and he went bankrupt, and his wife left him, and he had a little kid. So that sort of really put a bad taste in my mouth, and I'm like, I can see what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
I can't control this, and I'm like, and then because I was fighting as well, I probably need the time to train more, to take it to the next level anyway. So it sort of worked in pretty well.
So at that time, right, you're obviously fighting, you're training, and we won't go through every fight or anything, but you eventually became world champion, correct?
Correct.
And what was that journey like? Obviously, you're probably not making a lot of money. You're fighting. I mean, you're getting bashed up. And this is when Jake, my business partner from MX Store, who was friends with Nick, always mentioned Nick. I've never met Nick at that time, but he always mentioned Nick because we always had a fight in our DNA, right? Like, I loved fight. I'm not a fighter myself, but I've been watching boxing for years and then mixed martial arts. And I know Jake used to hit a few pads back in the day, and we actually had Fight Store, right? So MX Store, Fight Store, and we were going to go on with those domains. And when we mentioned fight, right, Jake's like, I got the guy. And he kept mentioning Nick. So I then met Nick, right? Because Jake is like, come meet Nick. He's got a fight. And I seen this. I went to one of Nick's fights, and he was fighting a heavyweight guy from a Kiwi guy that was probably a foot taller than him and probably, again, another 20 kilos bigger in the ring. And I seen them. He chopped him down like a tree, cut him up with elbows, and won the fight, right? And after that, we were meeting about the business of FightHQ. And so tell me a little bit about that, because you went from being a professional fighter, right, to then having meetings with Jake and I and the team about being the guy to be the face of FightHQ. Because I know at that time he also had Punch Fit, right? Yep. Which was training as well. So explain a little bit about Punch Fit and what you did there, because it ties in, and the Infliction and the fight shows. And then that transition from, being a fight show promoter and having Punch Fit to then being the face and the guy that's running FightHQ, which is, the largest e-com, mixed martial arts business now in Australia, and not knowing anything about e-com.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when you look at it like that.
It is.
Over the last year, you've watched myself and Eric launch Unemployable, which is this podcast that you see right here. Now, this has been a really interesting journey, and we're starting to really understand and quantify now the value of having a podcast, but it's not what you think it is. When we first started out, we thought, maybe we're going to get money from Google from a number of views that we'll get, or maybe we'll get sponsorship from people who want to, sponsor and get access to our audience. But it's none of that. What we've actually learned by doing this podcast now for a year is that the value of it is in the depth of relationship that you build with an audience. Now, the tendency is these days, particularly, that we look to these huge podcasts like the Patrick Bet-David show or to Joe Rogan or all these other things, and we go, oh my God, they've got like 6 million subscribers or 5 million subscribers. And here we are, nearly a year in, and we've got like 4,000 subscribers. And it's very easy to go, oh my God, this isn't working. This is a waste of time. But if you stop and think about it for a minute, if you walked into a room where there were 4,000 people in that room, for those of you who know me for a while, the last Reliable Education Summit I did had 2,400 people there at the Brisbane Convention Centre, and the atmosphere was electric. Well, now, after 9 months, 10 months of doing our podcast, we have almost double that as an audience every week that is subscribed. The videos being viewed by way, way more than that. But there's basically an auditorium of 4,000 people there that come and watch our podcast for an hour to an hour and a half twice a week. So in that time, you create a deep and abiding relationship with those people that generates trust and also transactions ultimately. And over the last year, while I've been doing this from my social media and from YouTube, Eric and I have managed to extract quite a lot of value from the podcast, but not directly. We've started businesses, we've done real estate transactions, we've done a whole bunch of stuff. We've grown our network enormously. In short, a podcast is a phenomenal asset if you're looking to build long-term value into your personal brand or into your business. With that all being said, if you are interested in starting a podcast, 2 ways you can do it. One, you can do like we did, and we spent $250,000 fitting out this incredible studio here in Southport and sort of taking the plunge. Or 2, you could come in and actually use this studio for a fraction of the cost of what it would cost to set up, because we are now opening up, the first time ever, 5 slots for businesses or personal brands, people or companies that want to create their own podcast. You're able to come in here, we can rebrand the screens to your branding. All this lighting can be changed in terms of color. It's all LED lit up. And we have a second pod set over to the side there if you don't want to use the concrete desk. If you want a one-on-one or one-on-two, more intimate environment, that's going to be available as well. Essentially, it's going to cost around a couple of $1,000s to come in for a full day with our staff to actually record your podcast. In a day, we reckon if you get organized, you could probably do 4 long-form podcasts, which would give you a podcast release every single week. And then you can cut that pod into short-form content to put across your socials and so on. So if that's of interest to you and you'd like to basically leverage the investment that we've made here up front, have access to world-class, state-of-the-art facility here in Southport on the Gold Coast, and start your own pod for a fraction of what it would cost to do it the way that we did it, then let us know. Just send an email to hello@unemployable.com.au. We're looking for 5 companies or brands that want to come in for 1 day a month using our infrastructure, using our team to produce their own podcast and go on this journey as well. All I can say is it's been a hugely rewarding journey. We're not even a year into it, and we are continuing to push this on into the future. So hello@unemployable.com.au if you'd like to talk to us more about doing it. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
One thing I probably always look at, like I don't think I'm academically smart at all. I'm not, but I'll always say I'll outwork anyone to get what I want. Very early on in my Muay Thai career, like looking at John Wayne Parr, who was quite quickly my idol, because when you see him train, when he was at his peak, it was just, yeah, you're like, oh, fuck, I'll do that. And then you try to do a 3-minute roundabout and you can't. Like, there's no way. You know what I mean? Like, it took me about 2 years to probably get through a round of sparring with him hard, with being able to go again the next round, because his just workload was that crazy and he just trained. He didn't have to coach you. You just watch him train and you're like, that inspires me to train, like to be better. So, but early on, like even looking at him, like 10-time world champion, he's done everything there needs to be that you could possibly do in Muay Thai. But he's getting probably $30,000 a fight. You know what I mean? It's like, they don't have enough to retire. They don't have enough to have a house, you know, on the water what he probably deserves. You know what I mean? And big endorsements and that sort of stuff where, yeah, like boxing, you know, is huge. You know, put it this way, when I won my IBF world title, let's say about 10 grand, Anthony Joshua had 22 million the same year to win the same belt as me, just in boxing. You know, so I realized pretty quickly, I'm like, Muay Thai career, I want to do it, love it, but it ain't gonna pay the bills. It isn't gonna set me up for life. So I learned as much as I could about the game. So literally every weekend there was a fight show where our fighters were fighting. I put my hand up, hey, can I be in the corner? I'll be the bucket boy. I think whatever, fuck, I'll clean the spit, whatever you want, blood, whatever. Like, just wanted to learn. So I went to as many fight shows as I could, and watched Wayne and other trainers backstage, how they warm them up, how they stretch them, the pep talk, the strategy, get in the ring. And I watched every single thing. How do you fix a cut when they're losing by this way? When they're winning, what do you say? And I just learned as much as I possibly could there. And then when the trainers were training me, like, I would be the striker, but I'd also be learning and understanding what they're saying, why they're saying it, how to holding pads, all that sort of stuff, just as probably to see where it would lead me. I had no overall goal, except for I knew I needed to learn more about this industry to get better. And probably the where I first started, the first company I started after my electrical company was Want to Be a Kickboxer, which is now Want to Be a Fighter. And the reason why I started that was in Muay Thai, people still call it the Wild Wild West, especially in Queensland. There's no combat sports commission. There's no regulations as such. There's sanctioning bodies, which you can stick to their rules, but no one needs to go with those sanctioning bodies. You can go watch a fight show and the next day go, I'm going to run one, and have no idea what you're doing and make up your own rules, and you can get away with it. It's crazy. But so what I was thinking at the time was, let's say, Eric had signed up for a fight, his first ever Muay Thai fight. He's nice and fit, 75 kilos, ripped. And,
thank you.
And then another gym nominates a guy, 75 kilos, having his first Muay Thai fight as well. Seems like a fair fight, right? But time and time again, you would see they go on the ring and, and the other guy didn't tell the promoter that, Johnny is fighting Eric is a black belt in karate, or he's had 6 pro boxing fights. He's just never had a Muay Thai fight. So then, Eric gets his ass kicked and he's like, oh, I'm not good enough for this sport, and then we lose him, which is so unfair. So I was like, it's not that you weren't good, it's that the match was a horrible match because they didn't give you all the correct information and to match it safely. So I thought, why don't I do a challenge where we get, say, 20 people together and we train it for 10 weeks. And we'll be able to determine at the end of the 10 weeks the safest matchups just for their entry first fight, you know what I mean? Because it's daunting enough to have your first fight, walk down the catwalk with the music and the everyone cheering your name or booing or whatever. If you train with the guy or the girl and you're a bit more familiar and you trust the process, it'll be a much better experience. So we launched that, and that's where Wayne and Angie, they showed me how to promote fight shows as well, which is really cool. So they helped me get that started. But the funny thing about it was our customer wasn't people that wanted to fight. It was all people that just wanted to, that had, prove something to themselves. We had people with domestic violence, that did it, people with weight loss issues, just confidence issues, people, hey, I need to go for a job at public speaking and I'm shit scared of crowds. So if I can walk down the catwalk in front of 1,000 people, surely I can do that.
That's powerful.
So yeah, we've had some crazy stories. I still remember a lady halfway through the challenge, she come in and she was smiling and I was like, I picked up on it. It's 5 a.m. in the morning, like no one's smiling. Especially this lady was always pretty down, and she I said, are you all right? And she's like, this one warming up, she goes, hey guys, I just got to tell you something. And blah, oh, yeah. And she's like, this challenge has given me 5 weeks in. She's like, this has changed my life. I have the courage now to leave my partner. I've been in a domestic violence relationship for last 3 years. And I want to thank you guys, all you guys so much for giving me the confidence to do that. And I think probably she did another challenge, and by that time she'd quit her job and got her dream job. And, I was like, holy shit, like this is certainly, it wasn't what it was set out to be. It was just for safe fights, but even better, we are changing people's lives through the journey of training martial arts. So that's sort of where that purpose started there. And then what we would do is we'd have the challenges first, and then we'd have, or it was probably mixed then, one challenger fight, one amateur fight. And then towards the end, you get probably the higher level challenger fights and then the pros. Because what I was trying to do with growing the industry was all these people that come to see their friends at the challenges, they've never seen a fight show before. So, and they're going to come and be inspired by their friends doing the challenge and losing weight or confidence or whatever their story, they're bought into that. But then they also see the professionals do it, And then they'll, a lot of them would then, Chad Collins, he's epic. I'm going to like him on Instagram and Facebook. And then next time he fights on, say, War on the Shore, they'll go to that event. So it was getting new people into the sport to support the actual amateur and professional fighters, which we need so they can get paid more. And they'd also go to other events after that. So it was sort of helping build the industry already, I suppose.
Yeah, you're building the sport is what you were doing back then, right?
Yep. And you go.
No, and then from there you got into actually doing your own fight shows.
Yep. Yeah. So then we sort of launched Infliction Fight Series, where there was sort of we had the challengers show, want to be a fighter, and then we had Infliction at the end, where it was a sort of split a little bit. We had a lot of the feedback we got from some professional fighters was, we're fighting. I want to be a kickboxer show. I love the show, but my friends are going, aren't you already a kickboxer? You don't want to be one. So we're like, yeah, that makes sense. So we sort of split them up, the names and the time schedules and that, and we had a great effect. And I suppose where Jake sort of come in, I know when Jake actually registered MX Tour, 13, 14 years ago, he registered Fight Tour at the same time because he was passionate about fighting, and his dad used to fight under Joe Hilton on the Sunny Coast, and Jake would hold pads for fighters and that sort of stuff. So he was quite involved a while ago, and he's passionate about Muay Thai. And funnily enough, he come to one of the events because his uncle Neil was fighting. I don't know how is his uncle. He's only like maybe 40, 42, but anyway, he is. And he come and watched the show, and I was actually friends with some people at his work. Like I knew Nige.
Yep.
Nige, who was working there, and funnily enough, Dan Turner.
Yep.
Because I'm always trying to learn new stuff for my business. I'd actually had a couple of meetings with Dan Turner, who's the Google guru for us. I'd sat down with him and actually gone through some stuff with him just to get help on building Infliction and want to be a fighter anyway. So, Jake come to watch the show, and then I think maybe on the Monday or Tuesday after that, Nige sort of gave me a call and said, "Hey man, my boss Jake wants to come and wants to have a chat. Is there any chance you can come in this week?" And I'd heard a lot about MX Tour regarding their culture and how epic it was, and just how different it was from those other companies. So I was like, yeah, cool. And I just thought it was sponsorship, like he wants to sponsor the show or something. And sort of went down and had a good chat to him, and he just explained obviously the MX side of things and the culture and the e-commerce side, largest range, and sort of the purpose behind it. And a lot of the core values lined up with myself and what I believe, which was the easiest part. That was really cool to understand. They're good humans. They're here to help the industry. And Jake sort of said like they were looking for ways to help grow the industry of motocross. And he said, you've sort of built this really cool ecosystem here. And it just sort of stuck with me. Like you're getting new people in the sport, which is really cool. You're showcasing it on an event where the professionals are as well. So all these new customer, new audience are watching both. And then we had a major sponsor, which was Punch Equipment at the time. And he thought that I owned that. He goes, then you've got the equipment as well. You're getting the sales. So, getting new people in the sport, getting them the training, they're going to buy gear, they buy it from you. He was like, that's sort of the perfect ecosystem. But yeah, I didn't own Punch. But I was working with the owner of Punch with, they go pad holding courses. So I was going around Australia and around the world teaching personal trainers how to hold pads correctly and, and teach their client proper technique. Because I'm sure you've seen all the PTs out on the beach when they, they look like they're having a fit, flicking their hands, and you're like, if only they knew, what they're paying for, like it could be so much better. So I did that for quite a while and really enjoyed teaching, the PTs how to hold pads and how to get more power out of a technique for the clients as well, which is really cool. And one thing led to another. So Jake had a chat about that and explained how he always had the dream of fight as well. He just could only do one, not the other. And obviously, maybe it was, I'm not sure why he went MX first, actually. I don't know, but he did. And he sort of said, look, I think, with your companies and what you built and what we built on the e-commerce side, we could join together, bring those companies in, and we could create FightHQ, which is what the name is now, which is, we're pretty stoked with, rather than Fight Store anyway. But that's sort of how we come about for FightHQ.
And the rest is history, as they say. I remember meeting. Yeah, I remember meeting at Jake's house. You, Jake, and I, and having some strategy meetings about, what a fight store was going to be at that time, and then we got into some issues with trademark and stuff like that. So we had to pivot and call it FightHQ, which I think's a lot better name now, anyways. So, how was the transition going from being your own boss, I guess, doing your own thing, and then now leading a business like FightHQ, which is, a large business now going into, shortly an 8-figure business with multiple people. What was that transition like? Because a lot of people listening to this, have different opportunities that arise or have an idea and they don't believe in themselves, right? You're running fight shows, you had Punch Fit, you were making money, you were doing your thing. And then all of a sudden you take the plunge and go, yeah, I'm going to be running FightHQ. I know nothing about e-com, and I'm just going to learn from someone like Jake and Dan as an example that were running the business. How did you make that transition? What was it inside of you that just took the plunge, especially being, married, and obviously I know you had a daughter on the way.
Yeah. Well, look, when I went through everything with the guys, it was sort of a no-brainer for me, because I look back to, why, it's to help people, give them opportunities, change their lives through martial arts. I could go down the path of doing it on my own with Want to Be a Fighter and Infliction, and maybe slowly scale, around the country. But with FightHQ and what they brought to the table, we could touch many more lives, change more lives than I ever could on my own. So when you look at that, it's like, well, I'd be pretty selfish to do it on my own, right? Regardless of money, the pain of working with other people sometimes. You know what I mean? It was a no-brainer. That's why I did it.
Is it a subsidiary of MX now? Is it a separate company, or is it
It's a separate company.
Separate company.
Yeah. So
with overlap of shares.
Yeah, there's an umbrella. There's an umbrella company, and then there's all other companies underneath. We have 4 domains now.
Yeah.
In different industries, and Fight is one of those.
And so you find a jockey, being yourself, who's got the skills and experience.
Yep.
Create a new entity together.
Yep.
And then you share some of the infrastructure, like the marketing, the warehouse in Burley. Yep. So all of the inventory goes into the same warehouse, utilizing the same teams. And everything.
And I guess the difference with this one was Nick already had the fight show, right? He already had Want to Be a Fighter as an example. So we brought that all in-house as part of kind of the merge, I guess.
That's a part for me. Like when I watch from the outside, I've been to your events. Because when did all this happen? When did FightHQ start?
2000. Well, we were planning it all in 2019, because I remember that, because I was at Jake's house some nights at 2:30, 3 in the morning, and I had to be at training for my world title fight at like 5 a.m. I'm like, right, this guy doesn't know that I'm going to go to training and what I'm going to do. So I still remember vaguely, like that was
around that 2019, 2020 sort of time.
Yeah, that's kind of planning stages. And
so we're halfway through 24, so it's 3.5 years.
Yep.
And you've gone to nearly that level, nearly 8 figures now. And when I went to your fight shows, I was like, man, these guys have not only built an e-com business, but these epic fight shows. And now I know why, because you sort of hit the ground running there.
Yeah.
Because when you turn up at those events, it's really interesting, because I've only met Nick briefly once when he came in the studio. You came in the studio for the listeners, and he came in with a friend briefly, and we said hello, but I had no real idea of any of the background. But I've been to a couple of the shows with Eric, and hearing you talk about the experience, because it's new to me, and I love going. It's a completely different experience for somebody like me. But it is amazing seeing, like, we had families standing behind us and their son or somebody was fighting, and they were just passionately cheering them on. And then the pros came on, and
it's so funny because you have
a great night.
Yeah, you have so many different types of people at a fight show, right? You have the friends that are, cheering their friends on, or you have the mom and dad and their sons in there, and then you always have that girl. You always have that girl in the background. Knock his head off! There's always one girl that just loses her shit and just
was a pick fights at the
man, honestly, yeah. So what was cool about that is obviously there was a couple businesses there already that Nick had, and then what we did is took it to the next level, and Nick created a Fight Academy Australia, which is a fight gym. that we have in Orang, which trains boxing and Muay Thai, and that's where the challengers now train out of, right? And non-challengers as well can go there, and it's run as a gym. So
Awesome.
yeah, which is
Are the
pretty cool.
shows Australia wide or just in Queensland?
Just in Queensland for now, but we are building a model to go Australia wide, so we can get more people training in Muay Thai and boxing. So we're probably about 12 months off launching that.
Yeah,
But we're in the background. Yeah, it's always been the goal.
because one of my mates must have done something similar to this in Melbourne.
Yep.
Where he was training for a couple of months and then he fought on a fight night or whatever it was down in
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon they should have one that's like adjunct to QCAT. And so, like, instead of go to court, you just throw two people having it.
Yeah, that's man.
Right, you and this
Old
dickhead.
school,
You're
old
telling
school,
us
yeah,
this week.
old school style, you know.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Like to see the people in their 8-10 weeks, their journey where they start and then fight night. Like you everyone dreams of being that superstar, whether it's a movie star, a singer, and some people's a fighter. So you think of it being a Conor McGregor, or a Floyd Mayweather for one night, where it's all about you for that split second.
Yeah.
You walk out, your fight song is on, everyone's looking at you, they cheer. You jump in the ring, and like I said, regardless of whether you win or lose, in a Muay Thai is a very respectful sport. There's different disciplines that, some might be perceived a little different, but put it this way, if anyone's sort of yelling out, like knock his head off is the one thing that that's okay, but like talking someone down, you know what I mean? Like, that sort of stuff, we don't. It's very rare that we have to tell someone, hey, pull it in a bit because it's not respectful, but it's a very respectful sport. So we, the people just feel like a superstar for the one night, which is something they can say they've had that fight, and it's something no one can ever take that away from them. So it's a cool experience to put it this way. At the end of the challenge, sometimes I'm like, oh fuck, why am I doing this? It's just by the end of the challenge, and they're all freaking out. I'm getting 50 messages a day, all the rest of it, and I'm like, it's the same thing. But then as soon as the night comes and you watch what they do and what they get out of it, and you hear their family and friends come up and talk to me and our staff and just say how much they can see it's changed the lives of that person, and you're like, yeah, we're doing it again.
It's incredible. I'm not a fighter and I've never fought, but hearing my dad speak about his childhood and his upbringing, he had a really rough childhood, and he's been his most confident person when he tells the stories about his fight journey. And I've always said that I want to get my little girl into BJJ when she's old enough. Like, what age do you reckon is a good age to get them into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or something like that?
Look, I think every kid's different, as we know, as I'm learning, as I get a 2.5-year-old. But so I'd love to already have her in there. She comes in sometimes and just kicks the bag because we are. But I think probably around 5 or 6 would be the earliest you'd start.
Yep.
Depending on their development. But I think at that stage, it's a good stage around 5 or 6, especially when they're starting to go to school. If you can get them in something that gives them the confidence to, to be themselves and not worry about what other people think, is pretty cool.
It's funny when you said, like, we're doing all this stuff and you're like, oh, why am I doing this? Like, just so much work and whatnot. But there's what I've always loved about MX and Fight in these businesses that I get to be involved in is it's never about the money. The business has never been created about chasing this dollar. With MX, like I've said in the past, it was to make riding more accessible and safer. And the reason why you keep showing up, right, is because, like you said, it's changing people's lives through the discipline and training of martial arts, right? Those days that are, you're banging your head against a brick wall or things aren't going your way. That's why you wake up and keep going, because it's actually touching people's lives. So let's get into some of the nitty gritty about FightHQ, and I want to get into some numbers and growth and how many orders we're doing a day and all these fun stuff, all the fun stuff that I know that Adam and Mark really kind of want to get into. So from when Fight started, right, a few years ago, to where it is now, can you give us just a little bit of a journey on what we're doing numbers wise and just even number of orders as an example?
Yeah, well, I think we
and SKUs, sorry, as
we
well.
cracked 3 years end of March this year, so we're sort of, which is pretty cool. So but yeah, obviously I spent from 2009, I spent about 18 months learning all the different areas. I went to warehouse, I went to showroom, I went to, products and learn how to buy, customer service, did all that to get a better understanding because I need to lead my team, right? So, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, and then, we basically, when we launched, it was, we probably spent about, 5 or 6 months sort of working with suppliers to get some products in, but we would have launched with around about 400 to 500 products. So it's, compared to, 5,500 we have now products, I think we're about 21,000 different individual SKUs on our website. It's been quite a growth in 3 years.
How many suppliers is that?
We have 64 suppliers on our books at the moment. And we still have we're still, that's heavily boxing, Muay Thai, MMA and Taekwondo. We're still in other disciplines we're going to grow yet. So we're only scratching the surface, I think, in the long scheme of things. But it's been pretty cool to watch.
The domain is fighthq.com.au. So if you're watching on, you got desktop there and you want to check it out, have a look. I'm just blown away that there's that many SKUs because from the outside as a non-fighter, I go, okay, well, how many things could there be? The boxing gloves, trunks, pads.
When you look at a boxing glove, you go, that's one product, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you might have 5 sizes.
Right.
5
sizes, it's 10 brands.
10 colors.
That sort of stuff. Then you got, different colorways. So you might have one product, 5 different colors. That's 45 SKUs.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So,
And the difference with us, this isn't a drop ship model. This isn't a pre-sale. Like we literally hold all the stock.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same model as MX. We hold the stock. You come to FightHQ and you want boxing gloves and you want shin guards and you want a mouth guard, it's there.
So tell us about, Nick, like you partner with the guys at MX. Obviously that's a really great way to start because you tap into all of that logistical infrastructure, experience, marketing team, and you bring the fight skill set to it, right? So you know what fighters want to a degree, and what they don't want and why and what's good and what's bad, which they didn't have. So it's a really good match. So what was the journey like when you first started? So you started with 400 or 500 products. Like, what was the first sale? Like, like after first month, where were the orders at?
Yeah, it was, our first ever order was one of my good mates, Con Beldy, who sponsors our show quite regularly. So he had the first order.
Such a legend.
It was so cool to see the first order come through, and he rang me straight away. He said, was I the first? Was I the first? I'm like, you are. So that was so cool. But yeah, I think, it's crazy to look back. Like we were, the first couple of months were like, $300 to $800 days. You know what I mean? You're like, wow, that's insane. And then ad spend, we were spending like 35% of the revenue was going into ad spend. So it was quite high.
So a $300 day, you'd spend $100 and make $300 in sales.
Yep.
And you're probably not making any money on that.
No, by the time you buy the product and everything. But we knew that would take a couple of years of investing.
So what was the sort of first year, like if you were to say, 20?
No, 20.
20.
Yeah, 2021.
So let's talk it through. So your first year, say like if you were to get 21, so roughly if you were to sort of say over the first year, it went X to X to X, like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, just because I want people to hear this because a vast majority of listeners are sitting at ground zero. Yeah. And they can't imagine getting to nearly $1 million a month, which you'll hit soon, right? Mm-hmm. So $1 million a month seems like a mile away, but everybody starts with their first sale, their first $1,000 day, their first, whatever. Mm. So could you just step us through the first 4 quarters, just roughly from memory?
Literally, like we just had our hustle was products. Like more products we have, the more we can sell, more revenue we can make. And we were just worried about products on the website to get the revenue. And we could see that we knew ad spend would stick around 30% for the first year, but purely we were just sourcing out products. And it was an interesting one because we have, it was just MX once, right? So when we had the multi-domain, it was new. It was new for everyone, especially a domain that is a different discipline altogether, or sport. So they sort of split. MX was a domain, FightHQ was a domain, and then BTV was the company that was the contractor that FightHQ would pay the people to pick and pack the products. We'd pay the range team to buy. We'd pay the reach team to do the ads, and we'd pay BTB for the CS. But we had our own domain team that was industry driven, that have had industry experience. So I knew that it was quite critical that I had to get the right people to support me on the industry side, because we had no data. You know, the range team have no data to go off to go, is that a product that we want or not? Luckily enough that, with what I'd done before, my previous experiences, we had some weapons in the industry that have, that have worked with other brands or worked in the industry, fought competitively in some of the disciplines that could come in and actually go, these products are what we need to get over time. So we were lucky, we weren't sort of running blind on what products to get. We were running blind on how much to get. And that was, we just sort of getting on top of that now because we have got data for a couple of years. So we, with a model of sell before you buy, we need to make sure that we're not buying too much, because then we own it all and, we have a warehouse full of stock that we're funding. So, there were certainly some challenges there, but as we saw, just basically sell a product. Sold one, that worked, buy two. Sell two, that worked, buy three. You know what I mean? So, and then a bit of a stage where you go, cool, we're going to have money to go get another couple of products from that brand and do the same. And
So what do you reckon your turnover was in the first year?
it was 2.3 million.
Oh, sorry.
But you got to realize,
You've got to realize that, if it was a one-man band, if it was just me doing my thing, it probably would have been, I don't know, somewhere between 100 grand and 230. Probably.
This is the leverage. This is the leverage of what's being built there.
Yeah.
When we say BTV, right? BTV is basically the organism, right? The people that run MX, Fight, ATV,
in the business,
right? Rather than going, okay, Fight, all right, these are just your people. And here's, so the economies of scale go through the roof, right? Because we're using a lot of the same people for different things.
Great model.
Yeah, so
Great
you're
model.
piggybacking off, 13, 14 years of pain and suffering and mistakes and loss of money and making wrong decisions.
Skills. I mean,
and skills and knowledge and network. Yeah.
So we've had Dan on the pod, and he's an absolute weapon at paid media. He's your paid media guy from day one, and you've got investment for inventory from day one from MX. So, hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the pod. I wanted to share a really interesting stat with you. In our e-commerce business where we sell electric toilets, we noticed that nearly half of our online visitors visit our website and do their research outside of normal business hours. Now, when you think about spending thousands of dollars a month on traffic, it is pretty important that you can service your customers when they're on their website. And that's why we used Early Bird AI. That's EARLI rather than Y, earlybird.ai. The team there helped us implement AI-powered web forms, which when somebody has a question about anything to do with our product, our website actually texts them immediately and engages with them in a discussion to assist them with whatever they want to know and is trained to move them towards purchase. We've also installed a talking website, or it's about to go live, where you can literally push a button on the website and it connects with an AI-powered voice that sounds like a natural Aussie-speaking person, and you can literally just talk to the screen and have the AI engage with them, answer all their questions, and again, direct them towards a sale. If you would like to learn other ways, including those, to grow your business through very smart AI, go and talk to the people at earlybird.ai. You can get a free audit of your business. It's not just for online businesses. We're working with plumbers, medical centers, all kinds of businesses over there. Go to earlybird.ai. I can't recommend them highly enough. With that said, enjoy the rest of the pod.
But you also need to have products that sell and a market to buy them. So are there particular products that kind of started to blow up first? And how is the market progressing now that UFC and things like that are starting to become more popular?
Look, we certainly identified early on the brands that kicked it the most for us were the brands and SKUs that people didn't have access to. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to go and get the brands that people want, but they have to buy from America and run the risk of fraud or, paying US dollar and then the freight over and waiting 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So we sort of, the domestic brands, we knew they were just your staples, you know what I mean? But then we went and got the likes of Winnings and Grant Boxing and Fly Boxing and this sort of stuff, and went, if you're a customer, how do you buy these? It's a real pain. So as soon as we got them in there, that got the George Camboses and Liam Paros and these sort of top level fighters going, well, these guys have got that in stock. I need them, so I break my hands, and they just come to us. And that was sort of the strategy there for those products that popped.
The industry must be stoked to have you, because before you was very fragmented, right? So now it's just like you said, this one stop.
Yeah.
Shop.
Yeah, look, it has. And look, then year 2, we went from 2.3 to 5. Got a few more staff on the industry side. We've we got a really knowledgeable guy by Nick Noonan.
Shout out to Nick if you're listening.
He's as crazy as a cut snake, isn't he? But he's he lived over in America years ago and helped build FightHQ, which is 1.3 million followers on YouTube, and worked with Floyd Mayweather. The industry knowledge he has in boxing on the media side.
Yeah.
That's any YouTube. He goes to the States. He's getting photos with Bob Arum in his room, and Eddie Hearn's asking, when is FightHQ coming to you?
These guys are the biggest boxing promoters in the world.
Europe, because they love how we're helping the industry and what we're doing. And so I got him, John Lee, some Mikey, all these just epic people that were in the industry. We the boys, actually John and Mikey come to me and said, hey, we found another missing piece in the market on Taekwondo. They when they compete, they have to wear this scoring system, right? Now there's only 2 scoring systems in the world. How crazy is that? And one is relatively new, and the other one has been around for a long time, and it was sort of having a lot of difficulties syncing up to each other and the Wi-Fi and that, right? So they said we could bring this, from this KPMP system from Korea, and we could basically change the game for Taekwondo. Taekwondo seemed to be in what we had was in a lull, wasn't many competitions, not everyone was competing. So I jumped on a plane and went to Bendigo, which is like, Melbourne, then 3 hours drive, and to Southport, and watched the Nationals. And the National Taekwondo tournament, they were using the other system. And the Channel 7 for the finals was a really cool arena. They get to one of the fights, so it's 3 2-minute rounds, right? 1 minute break. So, that's 6-9 minutes all up. This fight went for 45 minutes because they were sitting there half the time, even in the middle of rounds, where the system would fail. And it was like, fuck, I feel so bad for these athletes. Like, it's hard enough to stay, composed in a fight, let alone, you're waiting 10, 15 minutes at a time and then go, cool, touch gloves and go again. And then there might be 2 kicks and then, we got another problem. You know what I mean? So, you wouldn't have any problems gassing in a fight. You'd be fit enough. But other than that, I come back from there and went, yeah, you guys are right. Let's have a look at this other system. So we did that, we made the investment. I think it was about 120K to get all these four systems in for 4 courts. Went and had a chat to Taekwondo Australia, who are the governing body, and said, look, we got this other system. You guys don't have it. We think we can solve a problem here. And we also thought that going into the Olympics in 2024 in Paris, they only got 2 systems to use, and one's ain't cutting it right now. Like, surely unless they fix the problems in such a short amount of time, surely they wouldn't go with that system. So we sort of banked on that as well, and the systems are so far apart. Like, one, you could flick with your finger and it scores, right? And the other one, you've got to kick hard like a Muay Thai fighter to score. So you could imagine that, let's just say we didn't bring that system in, the KPMP system. They went to the Nationals. You got your Australian team to go to the Olympics, all on the other system that just sort of flicks. And they're going to go compete in the Olympics and kick someone like that and doesn't score. You're not going to have your best team, are you? Like, that team would look completely different if you had the right scoring system. So we brought that in, got a deal done with Taekwondo Australia. We said, your 4 big events for the year, we'll be there. We'll run the event. I had to send John over to Korea to learn how to be the engineer for the system. Did all that, and then we got those tournaments out. Best thing for us is everyone that competes on it, they have to buy the electronic socks. We sell the socks. We're the only ones in Australia that sell socks. So that was a good seller for us. But on the industry side, the change in 12 to 18 months was dramatic. Like, the feedback we got from the governing bodies in the States were like, Taekwondo's back. They're like, they went from running 13, 14 events the year before to 25 straight away. And then the attendances had like doubled. Everyone was loving it. It was so cool. So, and now KPMP, as soon as they announced that, the Olympics announced that KPMP was their choice, the obviously FightHQ, like we were just, it was like winning a world title. It was so pumped. We're like, yes, like the hard work's paid off. We've done it. The relationship is stronger now, and I'm heading over to Paris to be a part of. We got the Taekwondo. We did a little bit with the boxing team before they went away. Because they didn't have anything. They were still training on secondhand gear. Olympians. We had to go over. I better go over to Paris, and it was crazy. I ran a couple of suppliers who had heavily worked with them before. Well, Boxing Australia, and they're like, "Oh no, we sponsor Boxing Australia, but we don't do anything with the athletes." I'm like, "Okay, do you mind if we do?" And they're like, "No, go for it." So we had a chat with them and went into training, and so they're all training on stuff. Some of it's falling apart. I'm like, "You got two weapons here. If you break one of them, go to the Olympics." So yeah, we give them all some really good gear, and they just even little things like that. They're just so pumped. They just feel so special, and also the Muay Thai has just been accepted as a demonstration sport in the Olympics, and I'm the president of Muay Thai Australia. So that was a really cool process the last sort of 8 weeks to go through to understand it, get it, and then Muay Thai in Australia now was absolutely buzzing from it. We picked a team. And we're going over to be a part of all that. So it's just, that sort of stuff. There's always highs and lows in business, and we'll probably talk a little bit more in a minute about my transition of what I was doing to coming into FightHQ and the challenges there. But same as the fight challenge, you get your challenges, but when things like this happen, it's just, you just feel on top of the world. You feel like you're an athlete that's going to the Olympics. It's hard to explain. So adrenaline, the adrenaline pumps is the best drug in the world.
There's a lot of strategy behind that. Like, it's very easy just to say, "Oh yeah, we just created a new system." Like, they're growing the sport.
You guys supply the system worldwide now? Is that?
We've got the Oceania agreement, so 13 countries.
Wow.
We sell it for, yeah.
That's pretty cool, right? So you're going from one sport that's dying in the country, and you're basically reviving it, and then you're adding sales back to FightHQ, again, changing people's lives, and you go again. Same thing with the boxing. And so explain a little bit about ABC. We made a strategic purchase a couple years ago now,
maybe 2 years.
About 2 years ago, which was a Facebook page called Australian Boxing Central. So tell us a little bit about that and why that got purchased.
So Australian Boxing Central had been running for quite a lot of years, and a big following, about 130,000 followers. And basically what it was doing was sort of breaking the news, in the boxing world, mainly Australia, a little bit overseas. But all the followers are basically following that page just to keep up to date with what's happening in boxing, which is really cool. And definitely serves its place. Obviously, on the social media these days rather than watching Channel 7, or the normal news. So we looked at that, and obviously I had building a relationship with Nick Noonan through one of the gym owners, Josh, and just had a couple of good chats with him, and got to understand that this guy's a weapon and what he does, and that's pretty much what in our workplace we're looking for weapons. I ain't doing the social media. I ain't buying the products. Like I'm not that weapon. I have my strengths, and I'll stick to them. Obviously, you do everything when you have to, but to grow, you need the good people in your corner as well. So got chatting to him, and the whole strategy around the ABC page for us was e-commerce is heavily ad spend, especially when you start up to in the growth. So we thought if we buy that page because it was for sale, and we get Nick Noonan to come in and run it because he's a genius at what he does and he'll grow it as well. But also it could add value. It'll add a lot of value to the industry because Nick has a lot of relationships overseas with anyone and everyone that knows boxing. And like he'll, I think Tim Zhu they might have announced it now, or maybe about to. So I won't say who, but we knew a week ago. Literally within hours after the contract was signed, Nick knew.
Yeah, and it's not public.
That this is coming. So we'll break the news for that when we're allowed to in Australia at the same time as the rest of the world. So we're getting the news to the audience faster than ever. He's grown the page dramatically, but now phase 1 was that, and now if you looked at the ABC page, you would see no connection to FightHQ. So we wanted to preserve the core first, so we didn't just buy it and change it dramatically.
Yeah, try and sell to it, right?
Lose all these customers. And I don't think we'll ever, I'm not sure if we'll put products for sale on there, but we're starting to, it was fighter first. So like George Cambosis, people like he was bought into what we're doing, and he just, Nick, what do you want me to do? You know what I mean? Like, give us a product, I'll do content for you. I just love what you guys are doing. I love having the range of products, that he wants. So he would, we'd, what was I talking about?
The Facebook page.
Yeah. The phase 2.
So phase 2 now, like we're sort of with fighter first, it'll be if say George or Liam Parra or someone like that we're working with, they might wear a FightHQ t-shirt or a hat, you know what I mean? Or shout out to FightHQ for giving me my gear. That was sort of a soft way of getting it in there. And now we're starting to run some ads, in there, just, largest range or more brand specific to an actual brand, but it'll be like a hype video for like Usyk, who just fought. We did a hype video for him and his rival stuff.
That's the one that I showed you. Remember that?
That was incredible.
We sell rival, you know what I mean? So it's like we're helping build the brand.
Yeah, very soft.
They'll either buy from rival, they buy from us, and we back our e-commerce guys to funnel it to us first.
So what's the metrics there? So this page is for sale. How many followers were there? How much was it for sale?
It was 130 odd thousand when we bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't quote me exactly, but I think we spent around 25.
Yeah, so 25,
yeah.
So I had 130,000 followers. You spend 20 or 25 grand to buy it, which seems to me extremely good value.
Yeah, the exorbitant wage of Nick Noonan.
What is it? What is it now? How many followers?
How many followers? I think we're up to 176,000. But it's more, whereas I'm learning more about social media as well. The followers are one thing, but engagement's the most important thing. How many eyeballs are looking at it?
I've seen it.
And the comments and the shares.
Eric's like, check this out. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like there's thousands of...
The raving fans, right? Like if you're a boxing fan, you're following that because it's the most up-to-date information. And because you got Nick Noonan running it, who's connected with everybody over in the US. It's not just Australian boxing, right? He, like Nick said, he knows all the news before anybody else because he's just so connected. He's got that network. And obviously he works with us.
A lot of this is like, for the listeners, Eric, those of you who watch the pod all the time, right? You hear Eric here as a co-host, but now hopefully if you're really paying attention, you can understand why Eric and MX and the team and FightHQ is so successful. It's because Eric and the team are masters at building deep relationships, like real deep relationships. That's where it comes from. This is not just a guy sitting here at the pod desk, who doesn't know anything about building a real business, right? Like this is, you can see the respect between these guys. And also when I see all of you together, it's quite extraordinary, like there's very few e-com businesses in Australia that get as big as you guys.
Yeah, it's interesting, like the relationship that we have, because I don't work day to day in the business, right? But Nick and I talk probably weekly, right? And Nick knows that he can ring me anytime and go, hey, this is what I'm stuck on. Like, fuck, this is shit. This is why. Or, hey, some good news. This is what's happening, and ask for advice and vice versa, And it's interesting because sometimes when you sit and you don't work in the business day to day, you feel like you're less valuable, right? Because you're not hands-on, getting your hands dirty every day, right? But I take an external strategic approach to it, right? Like Jake and I talk almost every day. And a lot of it is just subtle strategy, commentary around what's happening in the business, moving forward. Hey, have you thought about this? Hey, have you thought about that? Because sometimes when you're working in a business, Nick, right, it's like you'd be like a horse with blinders sometimes, right? And you're just doing the same thing every day, grinding, and you don't see the obvious.
Yep.
And with the coaching that we do, I see that so often because here I'm adding value in a call, and I'm saying things in my mind that I think are pretty obvious. And then the people get blown away going, oh my God, I've never thought about this. And I get these aha moments of going like, having an external perspective, more of a macro level rather than a micro level at times, is very valuable in business.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to this because, you know, I've spent the last couple of years trying to master Amazon, you know, launching products and white labeling products, doing it on Amazon. And then now my natural progression was, okay, well, next I need to master Facebook ads. But now I'm sitting back and I'm listening to this conversation. I'm thinking, well, if I'm not out there driving the business through connections and relationships and bringing the right people in, no one's going to be. So maybe in order to take a step forward, you have to take a step back and start to look at bringing in the right people.
And I thought it was very important, you know, I know we touched a fair bit on your past and your youth and growing up, but it ties in so heavily into this story, because if that wasn't the path, right, we wouldn't be in this position today with Fight. And again, like I'm very business minded, right? I'm numbers oriented, and sometimes I forget, right, the mission. Sometimes I forget it's about changing people's lives, right, through the discipline of and training through martial arts. And Nick reminds me of that, because at times I'm like, why are we doing this? This is a waste of time. We should just be concentrating on this. We're trying to do too many things. And then listen, you know, and then he brings me back, you know, and it's very, very important to have that, like we discussed before, of having that mission and having that why and having that vision. And I, like, after hearing Nick's story, like, wouldn't you want to be his business partner?
Yeah.
like he's never going to give up. You know what I mean? Like he's got that, you know, if you leave now, you'll be nothing in life every day.
I can't think
in the back of his head.
I can't think of better preparation for entrepreneurship than your first lesson being punched straight in the face.
Yeah. You know,
there it
like,
is. You want to learn entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
There it is. Right.
Like
there.
he's there wanting to prove everybody wrong that ever told him that he couldn't do it. You know,
and that's something Joe and I used to look for constantly, was people who had an emotive reason to be successful, somebody that they were trying to prove wrong.
Yeah.
Patrick Bet-David wrote that fantastic book, Choose Your Enemies Wisely, and talked about the importance of the right enemies and how a man with no enemies is a man with no power. And you need, and enemies doesn't mean people you want to destroy, or just people who are on that list of, because you can't put that in someone.
Yep.
So you can't put that fuck you in someone. That's either in them or it's not in them. And most of the time, behind most successful people, there's some people there that are just always there in their mind that are driving them to do things that others are just not willing to.
And there's a reason why we've got a boxing kangaroo here. You know, like that this resembles this guy right here that we're talking to. Like that's the way I look at him, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, listening to that, I was speechless for the first half of this podcast, just listening, because I know Inala. I was from Browns Plains, so I know Inala really well.
Yep.
And I know exactly who.
Browns Plains High School, Browns Primary, I got his skull from.
Yeah. So, I mean, especially then, right? And Inala, I used to go to Inala all the time because my boss lived in Inala, and I used to sell door to door, and he was Vietnamese. And so there's obviously a big Vietnamese community in Nala. If you haven't seen Boy Swallows Universe, have you seen that?
Yeah.
How good is that?
Yeah, there's certainly some similarity.
That's from it. That's shot in Nala.
Yeah, always get a few movies that sort of remind you of things that you haven't thought about in a while, which is...
But I'm trying to just, like, I just got to say, you know, I was absolutely speechless when you were talking about being 12 and 13, sleeping in the bag racks. You said the port racks, but outside of Queensland, nobody knows what a port rack is. A port is a bag. It's a Queensland school system. But I'm just trying to picture a 12-year-old kid sleeping on his own in a school grounds after hours. That is just, I mean, that's just so hard to actually imagine. And even if it was only for one night, 2 nights, a few nights, that's pretty insane. And that right there is the breeding of a very unique animal.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments. I almost had a tear in my eye thinking about it. It reminded me of my childhood, but I never would have had the courage to run away and to do that. So
I was reading a thing from Mike Tyson this morning, and he was saying, an interviewer was talking to him about his son, who said, I want to be a boxer. And the interviewer said, what did you say to your son? And he said, son, you've been on holidays in the summertime to Europe. You've been to private school because you don't want to get in the ring with an animal like me. He said, the shit I came up with, he said, I took those hits.
Yep.
So you don't have to. He said, there's going to be another version of me that until you've had that real level of hardship.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. You know, so
that's why I have so much respect, and why I love watching fighting so much, because, you know, when that cage closes or you step into that ring, like, it's you against you, you know.
But it's all
and I think you need that hardness, you know, like it's that conditioning, you know, like you're getting punched as a 13-year-old kid in the face by a grown man over and over again. You're going to get conditioned to that. That's why you can go up against someone that when you're 90 kilos and they're 113 kilos, you're not scared, you know.
Yeah, but what impressed me is as well is the control you have over it. You know, like it's the control. Like, you knew if you stayed there, you were going to beat the fuck out of some builder. So you didn't put yourself in the way of that problem.
Yeah.
So to be able to control that power is actually very, very
discipline.
It's discipline, and it's that respect, because it's easy for that to get out of hand, I would imagine. But your definition of pretty cool, I wrote it here. You said it's 3 minute round with a guy 30 kilos. Here you go. So it's pretty cool. And I'm like, your definition of pretty cool and mine are very, very different. But it's super intense, and I'm really I love these pods because it's, you know, there are so many people out there listening that will look at me and Mark maybe, or this nice Canadian boy, and go, you know, I don't relate to those three guys, you know, because they don't know what I've been through. But then we hear stories like yours and AJ, who was here just recently as well. No matter where you are listening to this, the one major blessing you have, whether you realize it or not, is that if you're having these hardships inside of Australia, you're still doing better in many respects, because you can have these hardships in many other parts of the world. And there's no way, no matter what you do, you're going to be able to be where you are, which is, I mean, you're building a successful business, but you are genuinely creating confidence in people, inspiring people, creating hope. So no matter how tough it is out there for you, as you're listening right now, even though the three of us may not have worked in those shoes, there are people like Nick who have made it out and have done well. And it's through people, you know, like building relationships with people and being willing to learn and throw yourself in. Like you said, I will carry the spit bucket. I will clean the blood off the mat. That sort of shit is what everybody needs to remember, that you are not going to get the prize unless you're prepared to carry the spit bucket.
Yeah.
You know, and too often, not just today, but all throughout, we get this entitlement mentality creep in, and we're not willing to do the yards. And people say to me today, you know, where I'm at, you know, you're doing really well. I'm like, dude, I've been at this for 3 decades. It was 3 decades. 2 decades of that was eating shit sandwiches nearly every day. There's no escaping the work. Yeah. And that was the thing you were never afraid of. You know, the harder it was, the more you just leaned into it.
See, he's conditioned to work, right? Like putting in those rounds.
And looking back at, you know, my upbringing to now, like I don't reflect on it a great deal, and I don't look at anyone else and go, you had it easier than me, or did you have it harder? But like I actually don't regret it. It might have been the best thing for me, to be realistically. And over the years, I've seen, you know, you can say, look, I was homeless for a while, and, you know, had a tough upbringing, learned how to fight and all the rest of it. And, you know, even there was, you know, I still remember first day of school, second-hand clothes, everyone knows you're poor. Got through it, but like I've seen people that are fucking super wealthy, and, you know, their parents worked, you know, 24 hours a day, and they had a nanny and never had a relationship with their parents, and, you know, sort of emotionally ruined because of that. Where, you know, I still, from 13 onwards, I come home and, the love that, you know, my uncle and auntie gave me and accepted me like just one of their family members. And, you know, every Christmas and every birthday, you know, it might not have been, you know, super expensive presents, but it was something, you know what I mean? So, yeah, everyone's got a story. I've always known that everyone's got a story, and everyone reacts to something different, you know. So there are people in the world that are wealthy and have something taken away from them, and regardless of whether, you know, we might think, oh, that's, you know, why worry about that, but if they feel heartbroken and emotionally drained from it, it's still a real feeling, isn't it? You know what I mean? That they've got to go through. So I always think everyone's got a story. So don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, I certainly don't judge anyone on it, that's for sure.
Man, honestly, like I can sit here and just keep talking to you for hours about this because I'm so passionate about it. And obviously, I'm very grateful for you as a friend, and I'm very grateful for you as a business partner. You've said a couple times, you're not that academically smart, and I don't think you give yourself enough credit, to be honest with you, because you showing up with your leadership and your discipline and just showing up every day, FightHQ would not be here without you. And I want to make sure that you really understand that, yes, there's support, from Jake and Dan and the BTV team and stuff, but FightHQ is you. And I know that, and as well as, the fight shows and the challengers. And yeah, I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I love it. Like, you guys are trying to change people's lives too. So again, it fits in with my core values. So as soon as Eric asked me, I was like, oh, of course. Normally wouldn't do this sort of stuff, but with what you guys are doing, if if it helps inspire one person, then you've done your job, haven't you? So,
Yeah. I know it's out of your comfort zone, so we do appreciate it. It's been a really great pod, guys. Thank you for coming in, and Eric, thanks for arranging it.
No worries.
And drop a comment below, guys, because as I always say, it's helpful for us to know that this is working, because we sit here in a dark room, not really knowing where this is going to land. So let us know it landed, and let us know how it landed for you, because we do read the comments, and it encourages us to keep going, because we feel it gives us the energy, and it gives us the juice to do it. We don't get paid to do this. It costs us money to do this, and that's the truth. So if you want to drop a comment, please do like and subscribe. And Nick, thank you so much. We can't wait to check in with you and see where you take this. I'll see you at when is it, the fight?
Not this weekend, next week, the 27th. But tickets are basically sold out now, I think, aren't they?
Yep.
Yeah.
So where can they follow if they want to get involved somehow? Like, can they follow? Where's obviously you can go to FightHQ, but what about the event side? Where should they register if they want to be notified of upcoming stuff?
Look, you can follow me like locally on the Gold Coast. Infliction Fight Series is obviously ours, but there's also Australia-wide. There's Muay Thai Australia, and they got Muay Thai Queensland and that sort of stuff. You can jump on their website and actually have a look at the shows that are coming up, I suppose. But FightHQ, we try to celebrate all the events and all disciplines. So if you follow that social Instagram page, we do let you know when fight shows are coming up around Australia. They can follow.
And what's the best way if somebody wants to get into a challenge, want to be a fighter challenge?
Yep.
Where would they go to get more information?
Yeah, the Want to Be a Fighter website. Just jump on there, and there's an inquiry button up the top. Just click that, fill out your details.
Yeah.
And
that's just wantobeafighter.com.au.
.com.au, yeah.
Yep.
Jump on there, and we'll give you a call.
It's one of those things, guys, if you get out and do these, so some of you listening, you think I'd never go to one of these fight nights or whatever. Just get out and try something new. Like, I've done a few of them now with Eric.
Come to the next one.
Yeah, it's great fun. We go every time now. We get along there. I buy a ticket for, I think Josh is coming if I can't remember. But, it's a great thing to get out, meet new people, open your eyes, learn about different businesses, and you just never know. The variety is the spice of life. Nick, thank you for coming in, mate. Appreciate you. Everybody watching, thanks for the comments, like, subscribe, share the news about the pod. We're trying to grow. And if you are out there doing business on your own and you don't want to do it on your own, you want to be able to be mentored and be within a network and have access to our network that we have, which is quite substantial now, join our coaching program. Go to unemployable.com.au/coaching, get one-on-one coaching with Eric and myself, as well as access to our whole network of sellers like Nick and others that own businesses around the country and some of them from around the world. We've 7, 8-figure, 9-figure sellers in the group, and it doesn't matter where you are right now. Our goal is to help you grow. So unemployable.com.au/coaching. Thank you for watching. See you on the next pod. Bye for now.
Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that episode of Unemployable. If you'd like to watch another episode, just click there.